So I want to start out by examining this convertible mitt that a friend has asked me to repair the thumb. I've already taken care of the thumb on her first convertible mitt when she had a doggy to chew the end of it. So you can see that on the end here it's starting to fray, and I'm noticing that right here that it's, I don't know how easy it is to see, but it's already becoming frayed here. So she's already, it's right in here, she's already given me the green light to go ahead and go below that point if I need to. It looks like this is the Smart Wool brand, and it is a 95.4% merino wool and spandex, it looks like. Hand wash cold, and then so 95.4.1 merino nylon elastic. So the nylon, of course, gives it strength, and the nylon gives it the stretch. So what I want to first do is make sure I have everything here. I have some, and this is Knit Picks brand stroll fingering in the navy colorway. I've got some scissors, I have some needles here, and I have a couple different brands of double pointed needles here. The carbons, I want to see which ones I prefer using. The carbons, they are made of aircraft aluminum and tend to have more drag. And I'm not sure if I will either use the 2.0 millimeter. I do also have the 1.75 millimeter. So I'll determine which size is best. And then I have my chow goose here as well. I think the smallest size I have in my chow goose is the 2.25 or 2 millimeter, which is a size US 0. Yes, I do tend to prefer chow goo because I prefer the stainless steel and how slick it is. So let me go in here and just see. I do believe this is going to be good. And if I can use chow goo, I definitely prefer that. So I'm going to go with chow goo. And it looks like the 2.25 millimeter US 1 is going to be a good size. It's been a few years since I repaired the first one. Let's see. So what I will do is I will go in and pick up the first leg of each stitch. And I'm going to go below that frayed part. 2. This is what I call doing surgery on a glove. I'm being careful to make sure that I pick up all stitches from the same row, that I don't drift into another row. And I'm going to count my stitches. I lost a few out. Let's just put those back. does require good lighting to be working with these dark colors. I'm going to just simply cut. First of all, I do want to count how many rows there are after this. 16 rows before they begin the decreases. And it does appear that they did begin knitting down here and increased and stitched toward the thumb, but we don't have that luxury here. Well, I suppose I could recreate that and then do a Kitchener around, but I'm not going to. Okay. "16 rows before beginning the decrease," and now I'm going to make my cut and then unravel. There we go, I've done it now. Now, to determine where our loose end is, my friend is very trusting in me, isn't she, to do this to her thumb. I'm very honored to help her out with this. Okay. And I do want to leave a tail so that I can sew this back together and weave in that end. I really don't want to trim that too snugly down, so I will be preserving a bit of this. And I will be rearranging the number of stitches. There we go. That's better. You can see where some of the plies were already frayed. Okay. Now then, for now, I'm going to tuck this inside so that it isn't in my way. Okay. And once again, I'm going to count how many stitches I have. So there's 9 between those two needles. Oh, so I do have one stitch. Okay, so I will have 22 stitches. I thought there might be one stitch there that I might have dropped. So let me correct that quickly and just draw that stitch right back up. No problem. Excellent. Okay, so there are 22 stitches in total. Excellent. That's what I thought. I'm gonna transfer one stitch over to that needle. Okay. Excellent. So this is what I have. Now, time to get started. Smooth sailing now. I always think this looks a bit like a ninja using DPNs. They are a bit fiddly, but sometimes they are better than magic loop. The only 2.25 millimeter magic circular needle I have is 40 inches long, so that long of a cable would be a bit cumbersome. So I'm going to start knitting, and I'm going to keep count of the rounds that I have completed, because I remember that there were 16 rounds before the decreases on the thumb that I just cut off. And I did teach myself knitting and became a thrower from way back. I am learning continental, but with doing this precision work, I'm just going to fall back on what I'm comfortable with. And for now, that is continental, excuse me, throwing, English style. When I taught myself way back all those years ago in the 80s how to knit from my J&P Coates and Clark's Learn How book, there was no mention of continental or English or throwing, any of that. So this is just what I came up with. Be sure we move on to the correct needle. Make sure to keep good tension between needles so that we don't develop ladders. And to avoid grabbing the tail, I'm going to also tuck this one down, and when I weave in the ends, I'll be sure to secure that nice and snugly. And that is a weaker place in the yarn that I do not like. So I'm going to back this out and start again. Okay, so I actually raveled back another round because I saw more fibers that were a bit too frayed, I felt like, to remain in the final repair. So I'll have about 17 rounds to complete now, so before beginning the thumb decreases. Okay, and so back when I was teaching myself how to knit as a teenager from my old J&P Coates and Clark's book, I taught myself how to throw, and that looks a little too thin to me, so I'm going to trim that off. So anyway, while I have begun teaching myself how to knit continental, when it comes to fine detail like this, I'm going to fall back on what I know. So throwing it is, especially with working with these fiddly DPNs. So, and I'm just going to start knitting around just like this. Taking care to keep good tension as I switch to the next needle. And I'm sure many of you have probably done repair work like this. And if you have, I'd love for you to comment below your experience and any tips that you have. Okay, so that's the first round. And I wouldn't say that I'm an expert at this. I had a friend that came to me with some beloved mittens that she wanted saved. She's worn these for many years and loves them. So I told her back when I repaired the first one that I could not promise anything special, and she said whatever you can do is fine. So that took a lot of pressure off. But I did manage to repair her first glove after a little doggy mangled it, and she's been happy with that for a few years. And so now her other convertible mitten is here for TLC. So this begins the second round. Okay, so now that completes 2 rounds. I'm just going to continue knitting like so for 15 more rounds, and I'll meet you back when I get down to the thumb decreases. Okay, so I have now knit the thumb back with the exception of the decreases and the rounding around the edge of the thumb. So what I want to do now is I want to pick up my thumb right here, and I want to just kind of want to draw my knitting needle through part of these stitches so I can delineate between the decreasing of the rest of the thumb. So I want to count some of these stitches here. So I'm just going to use this. Okay. Six. So much like the decreases on the toe of a sock, I'm going to do the same thing, with the exception of I'm not going to do the edge stitch. I'm just going to do the decrease right at the edge. So I'm going to do a slip slip knit first thing here, then knit across to the last 2 stitches, and I dropped a stitch, but no biggie. And you just pick that right back up. continue forward till I get to the last 2 stitches, and then knit 2 together. And it is just a wee bit fiddly. Okay, turn, and once again I'm going to slip, slip, knit to decrease on the other side. And then over here to the other end and do my knit 2 together. And for the next round, just like a typical toe decrease, I'm just going to knit this round. Okay, this is going to be another decrease round. And now I am going to go ahead and decrease again. And I believe I will Kitchener after that. I'm putting these last stitches on these two needles only because I'm going to Kitchener and close this up. Yarn. And snip this. Get my yarn nice and sharp so I can thread my needle. Okay, and now we Kitchener. Now I know in some circumstances it's helpful to do a setup, but I'm finding that I just go straight into Kitchener. And for your front needle, that means you slip your needle as if to knit and pull your stitch off. Then for the second stitch, you insert your needle as if to purl and pull it through, and you leave that on your needle. Now to the back needle, and you reverse that. So you insert it as if to purl, pull it through, and pull this stitch off. Then into the second stitch, you insert as if to knit. Pull it through, and you leave that stitch on. And then you repeat that until your stitches are closed up. Okay, so once again, as if to knit, pull it off, insert it as if to purl, leave on. Back needle, as if to purl, pull it off, as if to knit, leave it on. Last stitches, as if to knit, pull it on off, as if to purl, pull that off. And then that has your remaining stitches. And it may be hard to see with this dark yarn, but it looks like an uninterrupted knit all the way across. So now I'm going to pull my yarn through, and this is what our work looks like on the inside. And now I'm just going to weave these stitches in. I'm going to alternate and kind of zigzag across the inside of the work a little bit so that there's no detectable pattern on the visible portion of the thumb. And a last little bit of housekeeping, and that is to weave in these ends. And I'm going to snip these to give them a nice crisp edge and to make all those last remaining plies the same length. And some still manage to escape. Okay. Now we go back here, and I'm going to loop this around into the beginning stitch. So that that appears seamless on the front. And the last remaining thread I'm going to go the opposite direction as I weave this end in. And I was listening to some others that were questioning some of the things you do behind knitting, and one of the questions they had, questions I heard some folks who are interested in knitting is, why do you leave a tail after finishing your work? And the reason for that is, so this is not for experienced knitters, obviously. I am not preaching to the choir, but for those who have not knit before, and this is a question you have, it's so that you can weave the end in, because if you snip it right where your work ends, then it will come unraveled and all your hard work will be for naught. And that's that. Okay, so let's turn this right side out and look at our work. Okay. So this is now the repaired convertible mitt. So, and you can see a demarcation of color. I mean, it's going to be very difficult to match exactly your color, but she was happy with the last one, and she said she actually likes the new thumb better than the old one. So anyway, so now I've managed to save my friend's convertible mitt, and she should get several more years of wear out of it. Thanks for watching.